Hello students, welcome to Distinction Learning Platform, and on this platform you find revision, case quizzes, a lot of stuff. So before we begin our lessons, make sure that you subscribe so that you can be updated before upcoming videos. To make this so short, let us go. So in this video, we're talking about coordinate geometry. This is under mathematics, okay? So what is coordinate geometry? So coordinate geometry talks about what? Three important categories. Three important things that you need to know about coordinate geometry. Even if the question comes, you are able to answer any question. So what are those three important things? So coordinate geometry basically talks about what? On how you can solve what? The midpoint, the one that we talk about here, on how you are going to find the what? Midpoint. Okay, midpoint of the what? Of a line. Okay, what else? Also on how you can find the what? Size or magnitude of the line. So let's just say magnitude of a line. Okay, and the last one is what? The equation of what? Of a line. So everything here we're talking about of a line. So basically coordinate geometry talks about what? It talks about on how, the measurement on how you can measure the what? The line. Either finding the what? The equation of the line, or maybe finding the length of the line or the midpoint of that line. That's all about what coordinate geometry. It just talks about what? The measurement using what? Various things that we talk about. Very important concept, okay? Now in this video, we'll talk about what? Just the midpoint of what? Of a line. Just the midpoint of a line. In the next video, we'll talk about the what? Magnitude of the line or size of the line. The last video we'll talk about the equation of the line. The lines that are perpendicular to one another, the lines that are parallel to one another, we'll talk about that in future. Okay? So now, under midpoint of a line. So what are you supposed to know under midpoint of a line? Let's try to understand midpoint. So midpoint, what does it mean? If this is a line, okay, and this is line what? A, B. What does it mean midpoint? So midpoint, we're talking about what? We're talking about this point, okay? We're talking about the middle point. That's what we call midpoint. But if you talk about coordinate geometry, it talks about what? Coordinates. So the moment you're going to be finding answers, make sure that they are in form of what? Coordinates. What are coordinates? Coordinates, basically, we have what? We know that it's x, comma what? Y. These are what we call coordinates. So x and x, comma y. So always the first number is going to be x, and the last number after a comma is going to be what? Y. So everything that we're going to solve here, so the midpoint of a line, we're talking about the coordinates that will be x, comma y, where on the middle. So that's the midpoint of the line. Now the question is, how can you find that midpoint of a line? Okay, that's the question. We use a certain formula. Okay, we use a certain formula. So we say this formula is nothing but equal to this formula. We say midpoint. Okay, midpoint is equal to what? Okay, we get x. So we get the x values, x1 plus what? X2 over 2. Okay, then comma, then what are you supposed to get now? Again, do the same for the what? Y-axis. X1 plus what? y1 plus what? Y2 over what? 2. Then you close the brackets. As you can see, we haven't changed anything, because as you can see, this whole number or this whole thing is what? Just for what? X. Okay, and what about this whole thing? This is just for what? For y, because it contains y1 plus y2. Okay, so basically midpoint, if I was to give you something like this, if this line, it has what? About what? 10 the length, either centimeter or meters. So then I ask you to say, find the midpoint of this line. What can you do? You simply divide by what? 2. So you're going to divide 10 divided by 2. Now the midpoint is going to have what? For x value, let's say this was for x value. That's why we're dividing by 2. If we have two values for x, we're going to say x1 plus what? X2, but you are going to divide by what? By 2, because you are finding the midpoint of that. Okay, that's why always midpoint is going to have what? Over. But basically, make sure that you just know the formula for what? Midpoint, because it's going to help you in when it comes to what different questions that you are going to be what? Answering. Okay, so that's the formula that you need to understand. Now, what else are you supposed to understand now apart from that? Let's talk about what the question that can come under midpoint. Okay, let's start with a simpler question so that we can fully understand Okay, so what is that simpler question? So let's talk about question 1. So let's talk about question what? 1. So question 1, let's talk about it. So they are saying, if they ask you to say if line AB, if they say if line AB, okay, if line AB has coordinates, so has coordinates like what? A, it has its own coordinates, okay? A, it has what? Let's say 2 comma what? Let's say 2 comma okay, let's say 6, 2 comma 6, okay? This is for A. Then B and B, what are we saying? So B, we are saying, okay, B, it has this also coordinate, okay? We're going to say, let's just say 4 comma, okay, 4 comma maybe 2. Now let's put a negative here, because I know some of you don't like negatives, okay? So let's put a negative there, okay? So those are the coordinates. Then they ask you find, okay, find what? Find the midpoint of line AB. They ask you a question like that. Find the midpoint of what? Line AB. So this is question 1. If line AB has coordinate A, that, and B, that, and they asking you to find the midpoint of what? Line AB. Now the question is, how can you find the midpoint? Remember that if they ask you to find the midpoint, what are you supposed to do? Remember that, okay, me, I know the formula for the midpoint. What is the correct formula for the midpoint? You write the formula for midpoint. Since the question is asking to find the midpoint, write the formula for the midpoint. So what is the formula for the midpoint? So we are saying, okay, midpoint is nothing but equal to, what did we say? Okay, we start with x, okay, x1 plus what? x2 over what? 2, okay, comma, then what did we say? y1 plus what? y2 over what? 2, then you close the brackets like that, okay? So regardless of what the data that you are going to start from, maybe some of you are asking to say, wow, what if we start with x2, then end with x1, x2 plus x1, it's just the same as if I say 1 plus 2, same as what? 2 plus 1. It will just give us the what? The same answer, which is 3. So regardless of the letter that you are going to start with, either x1 or x2 is fine to just give you the same answer. Okay, so if you write that, then what are you supposed to do? The other thing that you're supposed to do is what? To collect the data. So the data that we have is this one. So what is the data that we have? We have to say, okay, we have this 2 comma what? 6. What else? We have for B, we have what? 4 comma what? Negative what? 2. We have that. Remember that now for you to start replacing where there is x1, you put a number and make sure that you name. So this is the first letter we said that is x, and the last letter that is y. The first letter here is x and the last letter is what? Y. So I say, okay, if this is A, let's just say, okay, this is the starting thing. So I'm going to say this is x1, y1. Then this is the last thing. So I'm going to say this is x2, then this is y2. Okay. If you do that now, you start replacing respectively. You start replacing. So I'm going to say midpoint, okay, midpoint is nothing but equal to, okay, you see now you start replacing. Where there is x1, what are you supposed to put? You look at here is what? 2. Plus, where there is x2, x2 is what? You come here, x2 is what? 4. Okay, then over what? Over 2. There is over 2 here. Comma, the next is where there is y1, you come here. y1 is where? Here. That is 6. Okay, then plus followed by what? Additional sign. Okay, plus, then what is followed is what? y2. So y2, you need to put it in bracket because this is a negative. Okay, so I'm going to say it is a negative on what? y2. Okay, you put like that. Then over what? Over 2. Then cross brackets like that. Okay, then you try to simplify this one. So let us simplify it together. Okay, so we're going to say midpoint is nothing but equal to 2 plus 4. We know that that is what? 6 over 2. Then comma. As you can see, positive times negative, we are going to have what? Negative. So here we're going to have here, if you multiply positive times negative, you're going to have negative. So you're going to have 6 minus what? 2. 6 minus 2, what are we going to have? We are going to have what? 4. So we're going to have what? 4 over what? 2. Okay, then you cross what? Brackets like that. Then again, our midpoint will be what? Nothing like but equal to, then you say, now you simplify. 2 into 6 is what? 3. Okay, comma. 2 into 4 is what? 2. Then you cross brackets like that. Okay, that will be our final what? Answer. As you can see, it's simple and what? Straightforward. Make sure that you understand that. Then what could be the question, the second what? The second question that they can ask. Now this question 2 is going to be at least difficult. Okay, this question 2, at least I'm going to make it what? At least more, it's going to be hard. Okay, let's try to imagine to say, what if you've been given already the midpoint, then they ask you to find the value of something. Okay, let us understand that one. So what if they say, if, so this is question 2, if the midpoint of line AB is, then they're going to give you the midpoint is what? So if the midpoint of line AB is what? They say maybe anything, like let's say -2, anything, they put 4 there. Okay, the midpoint of line AB is what? -2, what? 4. Given that, then they're going to give you something as well. Given that, okay, given that A, okay, A is what? So they're going to say, okay, A is, okay, X, okay, comma, Y, okay, and B, then they say B, they are going to give you at least all the values here, okay, then they say maybe 2, 1, okay. Then they ask you to find the value of what? Find the value of X. Find the value of X and what? Y. Okay. So that's the question that they can ask. Find the value of X and Y. Even if they manipulate the question, but it's just the same way we are going to solve it. So use the same way in case they manipulate the question. They use the same method that I'm going to show you, the simplest one. Okay. So remember, what is our rule? If you've been given a question, then it has talked about something that has a formula. What are you going to do? You need to write a formula for that something that has been talked about. What is that? So here they are saying if the midpoint. So they've talked about the midpoint from the question. So midpoint. Now, what are you supposed to do? Write the formula for the midpoint. So what is the formula for the midpoint? So midpoint is nothing but equal to, we know again now it is what? x1 plus x2 over what? 2. Okay, then comma, again you do y1 plus what? y2 over what? 2. So you write the formula. The formula is the one that's going to tell you what to do. Okay, then what I'm supposed to do, what else did we do now? After you do that, you make sure that you find out x1 and x2. Okay, you put the data from the other side so that you don't get confused. So our data there, it is saying the midpoint has been given. This is the midpoint. So our data, from our data, we're going to say we have the midpoint. Okay, the midpoint is what? -2, what? 4. You write the midpoint from the data there. What else? We've been given A. A we have, that is what? X, Y. Okay, what about B? B we have, that is what? 2, what? 1. Okay, that is our B. Now, you need to start naming now, because if you name those letters as x1, x2, you are able to replace here appropriately, okay? So, let's try to name this one. So, midpoint, just don't name the midpoint, then you're going to get the answer wrong. So, midpoint is just on its own, so, but we need to name these, okay? These, remember that, okay? This one, the first one is what? X, okay? The first one is what? X. Then the last one is what? 1. Then this one will be what? X1, then Y1. What about this one? It will be, oh, this is also X, but this is the second now coordinates. You are going to say X2, then also here there will be what? Y2. Now you start replacing, you come here, okay? On the midpoint, ask yourself, do I have the midpoint? Yes, I've been given the midpoint, which is equal to what? -2, what? 4. Don't even get frustrated or something. This is the easiest question that you can ever get. So on the midpoint, what are you going to put? You're going to put what? -2. Then 4. Okay? That's the midpoint that we have there. This is -2, 4. Okay? Then you say equals to what? Equals to what? We have x1. So you come here. What is x1? X1 is this one. What is x1? X1 is what? X. So this is x1, but the x1 is what? X. Okay? The value for x1 is what? X from the data that we have. Plus x2 come on the x2. So this is x2. x2 is what? 2. Over what? 2. Then comma, you come here on the y1, you come here. y1, that is what? Y. You put y. Plus y2 come here. Why is y2 is here? Then 1 plus 1 over 2. Then you close what? Brackets like that. Yeah. So now the moment you reach this stage, that's when our problem comes. Okay. So make sure that you pay attention on this stage. So when you reach this stage, what are you supposed to do? What you're supposed to do is this now. You know that if you look at from the midpoint side, this is what? This is x, okay? This is x and this is what? Y. From the coordinate side there, from the coordinate side again, we know that this is the first and later. This whole thing is what? X. And this whole thing is what? Y, because this contains 1, this contains x. So this is x, y. So what it is that for you to find the values of these missing numbers, what are you supposed to do? You're going to put what? So you're going to put to say x and x will go together. So you're going to say this first value, which is x, it will be x. This first value should be equal to what? The first value here, which is x, should be equal to what? X. Also do the same thing to the what? To the for the y's. So y should be also equal to what? Y. So here that's what you need to do. The moment you reach here, what are you supposed to do? You get x equals to what? X. Y equals to what? Y. Why are you doing that? Because you need to find the values of what? X and the y. If you find that one, we need to use what? The equation. So you come here. Okay, you come here. So you say, what is the value of x from this side? You say, from this side is what? -2. Then equals to. From this side, from the other side now, after the equal sign, from the other side, what's the value of x? This is the value of what? X. It is what? X plus 2 over 2. Okay? So let us first answer this one so that we answer also the same way as this one. Okay? So what are you supposed to do? If you have now a question like that, you are able to find the value of x, okay, which was being asked from the what? The question. So what are you supposed to do? If you have something like that, if there is a fraction here, also here has to be what? A fraction by indicating the denominator of what? 1. If you do that, you cross multiply, okay? You are going to cross multiply. So we can start with 1 so that our life becomes easier. So we are going to say 1 times x plus 2. You are going to have what? X plus 2. 2 times -2. So here will be equals to 2 times -2. We are going to have what? -4. Okay. What are you going to do? You collect a like terms, which is this is a number and that is a number. We're going to say here there will be what? Negative already. Then this +2 will come there. So let us use pink. So it will come. It will be this was positive. It will become what? Negative what? 2 like that. Okay. Then what are you going to do? X is nothing but equal to -4 minus 4. It will give us what? -6. That will be the correct answer for what? X. So don't rush. If you are rushing when it comes to mathematics, you are going to find out to say maybe you are going to miss a negative, or you are going to miss something that is essential or that which is important. Okay, that is the answer there. Then you go to the y. So do the same thing to the y. So let's start here again. Y. So y, you come here from this side. So this side and this side, you come here. Y is nothing but equal to what? 4. You say, okay, y, let's use blue. Y equals to what? 4 equals to. Okay. Then from the other side, what is the value of y from this side? This side is what? Y plus what? 1 over 2. That is the whole value of what? Y like that. What are you supposed to do again? Do the same thing as here. Do indicate what? 1 here. What are you supposed to do? You cross what? Multiply. You're going to say this one and that one. You're going to have what? Y plus what? 1. Because 1 times y is y. 1 times 1 is as 1. Like that equals to 2 times 4. You're going to get what? 8. Okay. Then what are you supposed to do? Like terms, you collect them. Okay, so here you're going to have what? Y equals to this. So here we already have 8. Okay, here we already have 8. Then 8 is receiving what? Positive 1. So now this positive will become what? Negative. So this one is going to change. It will become what? Negative what? 1. So y is nothing but equal to 8. 8 minus 1 to give us what? 7. So the value of what? Y is nothing but equal to what? 7. This is how you can answer a question under midpoint. Okay, make sure that you get such a question. Okay, now as you can see, so since we've understood the simplest question and the what, at least the harder question, now the only thing that you need to do is that make sure that you go through what the past paper, different past paper, so that you can try my method. If it's going to work, make sure that you like the video and don't forget what? To subscribe. In the next video, remember, we'll talk about magnitude of a line and we're going to simplify it like in this video.